Okay, here we go live on Facebook, on YouTube and Facebook. We're going to get that set up here in just one moment on Facebook. And we're going to roll around. Yes, you're hearing the forgot to share. Just one moment. Okay, turn the sound off so you don't hear it feeding back. Welcome tonight. Today is the 24th of January in the USA. It is Sunday night, 5 o'clock in the morning here in Israel. And we thank you for joining us at Torah for the Nations, B'nai Noach Connection from Spot. And I just want to get it shared out on the Facebook, and then we will go from there. Yeah, share to a group. Share. And I have to share it to the page, Torah for the Nations page. So let me just do that. And okay, everything is all published, and I'm going to get my face on screen here in just a second. And you know, it's kind of tough when it's just, I'm just learning how to do, I know that I say this every week, I'm just learning how to do all this stuff. Just learning how to do it all, to get it online everywhere and spread it around. So let's see if anybody, we have in the, put on a gallery view here for a minute, we have Cole Younger with us. And how you doing, Cole, from Seattle, Washington, or close to it? I'm not sure. Is it Seattle or one of the suburbs?
No, I'm living in Everett, but I'm moving back to Seattle.
Okay, Everett. There we go. And thank you for being with us. And we're hoping some other people are going to show up tonight. One of the things that I'm constantly running into with people is everybody wants to study Kabbalah, study Zohar, study all kinds of the complicated books of the Jewish libraries and learn more about God, and I don't blame them. It's an interesting thing. And then there are those who don't want to study, and that's okay too. But what we need to do as individuals, whether we're Jewish or whether we're Noahides, is to try to step away from our religious backgrounds and learn how to be complete human beings. Now, what does this mean? It's good to have all the knowledge in the world. It's good to get as much knowledge as you can in your head if you really want to. You don't have to, but if it doesn't get you any points with Hashem. What it does is makes you more aware of your surroundings and about creation and how things work. So the big thing here that we need to learn about is how to make ourselves a better person. This is the whole goal of what we're doing here on earth right now, is to become that person that God created us to be, that person that is created in his image, that person that is merciful and kind, that person that knows how to treat other people properly and to treat the earth properly and go about our daily business without having our the other side of us, the ego part of us, flame up and cause us anger and cause us to say things that we shouldn't say, and treat people the way we shouldn't treat them, and treat animals the way we shouldn't treat them. We have to learn how to do that. Hi, Scotty. from Tennessee. Good to see you. I already shared it out on Facebook. It should be out there somewhere. Okay. People get tired of hearing about this. But I've been talking about this for 20 years. I've been talking about the ego for 20 years. I've been talking about what we call the sitra achra, the other side, which is away from the godly side, for 20 years. And I can sit and talk to people about it, and they nod their heads and they agree, and they think it's a good thing to talk about. The minute they go out of the class or turn around to talk to somebody in their home, right away they're in anger, or they're in jealousy, or they're impatient, or they make faces at somebody, or whatever. They don't connect with the truth of what God wants with their actions. Some people can be nice a whole lot to other people, and all of a sudden someone sets them off and they get angry. And that right away, you've stepped out of the image of God. You know, we read about, and we're used to reading about in the Chumash, in the 5 books of Moses, God was angry, or God was this, or God was that. But God essentially can't actually be that, because he can't be just one thing. He is everything. He is knowledge. He is everything. He's not knowledgeable. He is knowledge. There's a difference. And so he just is everything. But we get angry, and we get jealous, and we get to the point where we put people down, and we don't do good things for people. And we treat people poorly, and maybe not all the time. Maybe just sometimes we do that. But part of what we have to do, and part of what being that complete human being, is learning how to control that anger, learning how to control the jealousy, knowing how to control the pride, knowing how to not let something somebody else says make you angry. This takes hard work. And if you don't, you know, I knew a lady for years and years and years, a Jewish lady. She was very impatient with people. And she'd always say, Pesach, when you're praying for me, pray that God takes away my impatience. And we'd have the same conversation over and over and over again. What was it? God's not going to take away your impatience. You have to give it up. You're the one that has to go to work and get it done. When we pray for something from God, we're just not supposed to sit in our rocking chair and hope that he takes it away. You have to work at taking it away. Hi, Richard. Good to see you. It is really important that we do that. If we pray to God for something and we want him, don't make me angry all the time. Don't make me impatient all the time. Don't make me feel these negative feelings all the time. Well, it's just not going to go away if we don't do something about it. God's not going to say, okay, step over here, I'll pat you 3 times on the head and your anger's gone. You have to work on it, and you have to work on it 24/7. You have to work on it all the time. And that's all these things, these negative things come from the ego, your ego. When you say, so-and-so got me so mad, well, they didn't get you mad. You got yourself mad by the way you reacted to what they did or said. That's what makes anger. So-and-so annoyed me so much at work today. Well, guess what? That person didn't annoy you. You annoyed yourself by allowing that emotion to come up in you. And I want to tell you that since everything is by divine providence, if somebody makes you angry, somebody makes you annoyed, you can pretty much rest assured that God put that person in your way that day to see if you could handle annoyance. God put you through that particular thing to see if you're going to get mad or not. Angry is a better word, not mad, angry. Every negative emotion we feel, God actually will send someone to make you feel it just to see if you can handle it, to learn how to handle it. We have a couple that we're friends with, and the woman, she has a problem with people stepping on her toes. Everywhere, the room can be 3 people in it, somebody's going to step on her toe. And she's always saying, somebody always steps on my toe, and then she gets angry. But you know what? Of course, someone always steps on her toe because God's telling her, learn how to handle this. And she's also speaking it out. Someone always steps on my toe wherever I go. It could be a room with 3 people in it. Now, God is going to send this to you not to anger you and not to make you feel bad and not, but to help you work out those feelings so you can get rid of them. This is the important thing. So you can get rid of these feelings and learn how to conquer them. And so it doesn't make any difference. It's any negative feeling. It's negative feelings. I was going to say there could be some positive feelings there, but I can't think of any. When there's an instant reaction in your heart that moves you in one way or another, it's usually a negative reaction. You're reacting to something happened to you. And God set up a very interesting and great system for us to use to fix these feelings in ourselves. But if we don't use it, it doesn't work. Everybody's studying the Chumash. Everybody's studying the Tanakh. People are studying the sayings of the fathers, and they're studying Rambam and Ramban, and they're studying all the different Jewish texts that are out there that all deal with these things. The Tanya calls them midot. They're the way, they're the 7 emotional reactions, essentially, the 7 ways you act. And we have to learn how to handle it. And we have to recognize that the ego, in English we call it the ego, in Hebrew, I guess we call it the same thing. We've taken the English word and use it. I don't know about any other languages, but it operates freely in us without us ever thinking about it. Somebody calls you on the phone and they start complaining about something to you, and it gets you angry. Or they say something to you or write you a text, and texts are the worst thing because in all the messaging we do, all you're looking at is words. You don't know, you can't see the person's face, their smile, their frown, in what context they're saying the words. So people very easily take them in a negative way because that's the way people are brought up to think. And so it invokes a negative reaction. You may be speaking to somebody and you might, at the beginning or the end, tag on a little bit sarcasm or negative speaking on it. Well, not good. You're operating in your ego when you do that. Ego, ego, ego. Ego, sitra achra, the other side of good. Whenever you think of ego, you should think away from godliness. Now, why do we have the ego? Because God hides his appearance from us. So a lot of people, we just react like the animals react. We're God ourselves. Animals, I mean, they know of God's presence. I guess they can sense it, but they don't have thinking processes. Now, the reason I'm bringing this up is because I ran into some more of it since the last time we met. And I get I get frustrated, which is a negative emotion. And that frustration, I allow myself to feel because I talk and talk and talk to people, and 2 minutes later, they're doing something else. 2 minutes later, they're in a different world, having a problem with other people, or they're talking to somebody and saying, look what this person did. Look what this person said. And I say, wait a minute, we just talked about this, the negative emotions and how to use them. Well, that's not negative emotion. I'm just saying how I feel. Saying how you feel is doing these negative things that you do, I do, we all do. Not you personally, okay? When I'm saying you, it's all of us, you. When the snake talked to Eve, he told her, just do what God created you to do. Don't worry about anything else. But that's what animals do. They do what God created them to do. To eat what God created them to eat, to raise families the way God told them, created them to raise families. No conscience, no filtering, no looking to make themselves better. You know, I saw a meme, I just saw this years ago, but I saw it again the other day. You know, you see cats licking all over their fur and their paws and taking their paws and cleaning behind their ears and all this kind of stuff. And everybody says, wow, cats are really, really clean animals. Always cleaning themselves, always. And I saw a meme that says, you think that cat's cleaning itself? It's actually just wiping its spit all over its body. Which is essentially right. That's what it's doing. It's getting rid of other smells on its coat. But that's how God created it to do. Animals do it, dogs, all kinds of animals do it. It takes away bad smells and things, or puts its own smell back where it belongs. But it is such an important thing that if we can, in some way, shape, or form, stop a minute. Just stop a minute when you start to feel these negative emotions. But it happens like this. In a click of a finger, it happens. And I know I harp on this and I talk about it. Some ways, you know, people have to start thinking about it in seriousness. I sometimes fall off the log, and sometimes, like I said, I felt frustrated. Well, I allowed myself to be frustrated. I didn't have to. But it was just a reaction to something that happened immediately when I just finished talking to somebody about their ego and the other side. And then they, within minutes, were angry at somebody. But we just talked about this. Well, I have the right to do this. Well, of course you have the right to do it. Nobody says you don't have the right to do it. But is it right to do it? Is the question. You can have the right to do it, but is it right to do it? I found something that works for me. I don't know if it'll work for everybody. Most people listening are married, were married, about to be married. One of the things we do when we're married, if we go to the grocery store to go grocery shopping, your husband or wife gives you a list. Or you're going to go pick up, let's say, a cake to share at dinner. You don't pick up, essentially, you don't pick up only what you like to eat. You make a selection process. And how do you do it? Before you pick it up, you're looking, let's see, this is chocolate, this is mocha, this is coffee flavored, This has lemon icing. Let's see. I really like lemon, but my spouse doesn't. Man, I really want to buy that lemon cake. But no, my spouse likes mocha. So I'm going to buy the mocha cake, and I like mocha too, but my spouse really likes mocha. So you don't buy what you want, you buy what you both, and which is compatible for both of you. You're constantly thinking of your spouse. At least you should be. Even when it comes down to little basics like tissue paper. Well, my spouse loves something single sheet and nice and soft, or double sheet and triple sheet, whatever, to wipe their nose on. So you think about it before you pick it up. Or a scouring pad. This is the kind my wife uses all the time. I'm going to buy it. Oh, wait a minute, this other one's on sale for half price. Nope, she likes the other kind. I'll buy the kind she likes. We're constantly having our minds our partners, our wives or our husbands is what I meant to say. But there's someone before that. There's someone on our list of how we think that is before our wives and before our husbands, and that's God. So every time we start to do something, we have to say, wait a minute, is this what God would want me to do? Since I'm created in his image, I have to act like him. Happy spouse, happy house. Yes. Very good, Cole. It is so important that we understand this and we do this. When you get up in the morning, reconnect with God. As you're going through the day and you're about to do something, is this how God would want me to be kind to somebody? Is this how God would want me to treat somebody? Is this how God wants me to do this? Is this how God wants me to do that? Now, it sounds like it's a whole lot of work. It really does. But it only is work in the beginning. It's only work in the beginning. Because once you know what's wanted and you get used to it, you don't think about it anymore. You just do it. It becomes automatic. There's so much stuff going on in the world today. So much, you did it to me, so I'm going to do it back to you. I'm going to do paybacks. I'm going to censor you. I'm going to, if I do it, it's okay. But if you do it, it's wrong. There's so much of it going on in the world today that it is really hurting the whole world. And it gets to the point where you get tired of reading it in the news. You get tired of hearing about it. You get tired of thinking about, oh, this person did this to me, so I'm going to do that to that person. Payback. We did that in high school. We're walking down the hall and someone will shout out some humiliating sentence to you and say, hey, Pesach, blah, 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 and everybody laughs. And then they'll go, 1 point for me. In the next period change, I'd have something in my head ready, so if I saw this person, I could get back at him. It's a game we play all day long. Criticism is a game we play all day long. Boy, it feels good to criticize that person. It makes me so much better than them. Now, we're not thinking me better than them. We're thinking to ourselves, they're not such a good person. They're beneath us or something like that. This is the Western way of thinking. This is the Greco-Roman way of thinking, so to speak, where we're constantly gauging people, constantly criticizing people, constantly, well, man, I study Kabbalah, so if I got to study how to be a Noahide, that's kindergarten stuff. You're rating stuff. What people have to do is understand that it all comes together. It all comes together to make you that complete person and that complete image of God. So it's something we must continually work on. Even the most righteous of righteous people have things to work on. Now, they might not have some of the stuff we have to work on, but they still have things to work on to make themselves a better, more complete person. Even Moses had stuff to work on. All of them did. Even King David. Everybody. But what we have to do, and Moses paid for his anger. Remember what happened? He paid for his anger. When he struck that rock to get the water out in anger, do you remember what God accused him of, or didn't accuse him, told him this is what you did, made it a fact?
He was supposed to command water from the rock, but instead he struck it with his staff out of anger.
Right, but what did he, in doing that, what was the violation there?
I don't understand. What was the violation? He was told to command water from the rock. He wasn't told to strike the rock, and the rock cried out, and we're like, why did you strike us?
Well, what the violation here was, he didn't sanctify God as the one who did it.
Gotcha.
He didn't sanctify God. The Melech Tzedek lost the Kohanut. He lost the priesthood over Israel and Abraham. For when Abraham came up to him, first he blessed Abraham, then he blessed God. He put the physical, the human before God. And that's when he lost his high priesthood. Now, he didn't lose it instantly right there, but then it moved over to Aaron and the Levites into Aaron. When we do things and don't put God first, it costs us. It costs us in the way we feel. It costs us. I'm not saying that God's going to strike you with lightning or hurt you or anything like that, but it costs. There's a cost mentally. Maybe in some ways there's a cost physically. I don't know. But Nadav and Avihu, Aaron's sons, they put themselves first before God. When they brought the spices, when they brought their fire pans, oh man, God, I know you told us to bring this spice, but man, if we got a good spice to bring it, they thought they could do it better than God. They paid for it, and they paid for it in a sharp way. The Korach and the rebellion, those 250 men paid in a very sharp way for their egos. And what Korach did essentially wasn't wrong, and what he was saying was essentially true, but they were doing it because of their egos. I deserve this. I deserve that. They didn't say God made this decision. God appointed Aaron and his sons, and they went after Moses, and they went after Aaron. So they reduced God, their anger and their jealousy, blurred their vision towards God. And we all know the story there. And if you don't, go read it. Korach. So even sometimes if we do it unthinkingly, we still pay a price. See, I just had the guy's knock showing. Aviad, I don't remember his name. The guy that put his hand up to catch the Torah when it was being moved on the cart to keep it from the cart from falling over, and he touched the Ark of the Covenant and died. Well, why? Because God said, "Don't touch it," and without thinking, because why is what happens to something without thinking? What happens when you learn not to grab a knife that falls off a table as it's falling? Probably the first time you do and you get cut. But why'd you grab it? Oh, it's falling. You got to catch it. Instead of letting it fall and then picking it up. There's always that when we do things unthinkingly, automatically, reacting to situations, many times we're going to pay for it one way or another. How are we going to pay for it? Somebody said something to me that I get upset and I react to that person and I say something back and that person doesn't talk to me for the next 10 years. That's ego. And you go and try to, the person comes to you and try to, I'm sorry I said it, most likely as well, and we have a very negative reaction to what he's saying. We have that negative reaction, and it causes this separation between you and the other person. Sometimes parents inadvertently do this with their kids. No, you're never going to amount to nothing. Why are you always in trouble? Why are you always this? Why are you always that? And they're criticizing the kids, and the kids begin to think that's who they are. They're actually taking the kids away from godliness and training them in the wrong direction. I know everybody says spare the rod and spoil the child, but you don't have to have a rod to raise a good child. A mom may have a wooden spoon she carries around in her purse to threaten with or something. But people have to learn how to do things in the proper way. And it has to come automatically. I know you've heard me say this before, but I'm going to say it again. I had a problem with instant anger. Instant anger. Somebody bumped into me on the street. I was on the dance floor with my wife, and I got bumped into twice. That's all it took for the same guy to bump into us twice. And poof, I would anger up. Somebody would tailgate me going down the road. Anger. And in those cases, I would just start slowing down and slowing down and slowing down until I came to a complete stop. So that person had to stop behind me. I'd get out of my car and rah, 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 you know. I mean, I had this anger issue that I had to get rid of. And Hannah, may her memory be blessed, she would be embarrassed every time it happened. And I didn't even think about it. And one day she says, you embarrass me every time you do this. Why do you do this like an animal? And that's when it clicked in my head. And by the way, I wasn't always in black and white. I came back to where I was supposed to be. I started having to work on the anger issue to the point where today it's pretty darn hard to make me angry. Who makes me angry? Only the person I care most about in the whole wide world. If that person says something to me, puts me down or says something, I start feeling that anger rise up, but nobody else can push my button now anymore in the whole world. And unfortunately, it happens to us with the person closest to us. It's usually a husband or a wife that gets us all bent out of shape and getting angry. And we have to learn also not to allow that to happen. Over the years, I got to the point where it was very rarely happened. And I was so thankful for that because it was so peaceful that way. If you're constantly criticizing someone, that you're using your ego. That's what makes you criticize. Because you think the person is abusing you, hurting you, bruising your ego. But if you can just learn to say, wait a minute, that person is entitled to their opinion. That person is entitled to say what they want to say. That person is entitled to, wait a minute, what does it mean it's entitled? Someone's entitled to say something bad about me? Guess what? Where do we learn this? We learn it from God. How many people every day profane his name and say he doesn't exist and say bad things about God every single day? And yet these people walk around. They have their food, they have their cars, they have their jobs. Some of them have lots of money. Wait a minute, why isn't God just destroying them, doing something to them for this, the way they speak and the way they think? Because God essentially doesn't get angry the way we do. And when he does, it's to prove a very specific point to a whole world, not just to one or two people. Like the floods that happened. Like what happened with the spices going into the Holy Temple. Things like that are to teach us a lesson. But it's important that we understand, and I keep saying important to understand, important to understand. It sounds like a broken record. We must work on these things, and we must decide that every single day we're going to work on it, and every minute of every day. You know, I have a cousin who was not a Trump person, him and his sister, and they're not young people. And every time one of the family members would put up some kind of message, even if it had to do with politics or didn't have to do with politics, they had to put up some nasty little comment about Trump. Well, just on Inauguration Day, it happened. They put a comment, I think it was on, I don't remember whose timeline it was on. It might have been my youngest daughter's, who's not so young either. But the person made some kind of nasty comment about Trump and Trump supporters. And someone came in and put a comment on it and says, you know, you'd think you'd learn after all to stop doing this stuff. Why must you always have to, all your comments have to be negative and about Trump? He's not even president anymore. People learn to hate, they can't stop hating. They got to have something to hate. They have got to have something that makes them feel better, that they can put down. I see in the news in America that people that worked with Trump and supporters of Trump, that companies don't want to hire them and they're blacklisted here and blacklisted there. Oh boy, America's going right back to the 1950s and the communism. The McCarthy era. If anybody doesn't know about the McCarthy era, Senator McCarthy, go Google it. What a lesson it is. How free will in America got totally trampled on. How people were injured terribly by this McCarthyism, which was considered back then right-wing conservatism. Today it's left-wing. What's happening? The point is, you have to train yourself not to get caught in these traps. You can't, you have to train yourself to go along with what happens in life and not get upset about it. And it's important. I mean, it's so important to do this. You know, you see, I read Fox News a little when I'm reading news, and they put up all this stuff about it was okay for it's okay for Biden to call in the National Guard, but it wasn't okay for Trump. It's okay for the rioters in the left-wing rioters in Washington and Portland. That was okay. It was because it was against Trump. But on election day, did you see all those left-wing people that Antifa and BLM that demonstrated and did things in the same places in Portland and Seattle and in other places and they're making demands of Biden now. You have to do this. You have to do that. And we have to get rid of this statue. And we have to, they haven't changed their tune. But now the Democrats are saying, wait a minute, you can't do that now. But when they were in the leading up to election, it was okay for them to do it. Now I saw 4 or 5 got arrested in Portland. The National Guard was called in. Other things are happening. These are all very negative things that we have to learn not to do. Can you imagine? I can't. Come on, Messiah. That if nobody did that, nobody had that kind of hate in them, what kind of world we live in? We wouldn't even have any hunger in the world. We wouldn't have half the problems we have in the world. I was watching some kind of documentary today, and it talked about how the mechanization of war turned people greedier than they were before. Nations wanted to take other nations. Oh, I know what it was. I was watching a movie called Line of the Desert with Anthony Quinn. And it's a true story about an Arab Sheikh leader who was fighting the Italians, the fascists, and how they overtook Libya and the history of Libya during that time period. And boy, they were haters. They hated everything, and they destroyed everything they hated. Can you just imagine if they hadn't hated? World War II wouldn't have happened because of hate. World War I wouldn't have happened if hate wasn't around. We'd be living in heaven on earth. Heaven on earth. And I'm here to tell you that religion wants to tell you how to get prepared to go up to heaven. But God wants you to prepare how to bring heaven down to earth. He wants us to prepare to make the world a better place to live. Not once anywhere in Torah, in all of Torah, in the Tanakh, the 5 books of Moses, the Psalms, the writings, nowhere in there, prophecies, does it say, let's go do all this stuff so we can all be good people and go to heaven after we die. We're all going to go live up in heaven. It doesn't say that anywhere. God tells us, I want you to do it right here on this earth, and I want you to be connected to me, and I want to be connected with you on this earth. Very interesting, and I'm just going to take a quick digression because I think it pertains to this, so it's not really a digression. Okay. We're going to see how to build the tabernacle very shortly in the Torah portions. And the tabernacle is made out of all natural things. There's no stone. Everything there is linen and silk and embroidery and wood. Everything is natural elements, nothing hard, nothing that has to be worked except the natural elements. But it's something very interesting. We get very specific instructions how to build it. This place that God's going to connect and be with us in. And the walls were very important, the wooden walls. And they were made from acacia trees, shittim tree, shittim. It was the name in the Bible, but they're acacia trees. Why? Because they grow kind of straight. It's easier to cut them. But when they put it together, there's an instruction that the wood planks have to go up and down. Now, have you ever seen a house built with wood planks going up and down? I've never seen it. It's always across, laid one on it for strength and whatever. These trees had to be up and down, up and down, up and down, straight. In the end, we find out, not right there, but in later readings, we find out the whole reason. I mean, every piece of the tabernacle has a spiritual reason to it, but the reason the shittim planks were done up and down was so that we can reach up to heaven and hold down the flow of God's energy and bring heaven down to earth. And those shittim trees, those natural wood trees standing up and down, don't block it. They help bring it down like pipes. If they were laid on their side, there's no continuity between heaven and earth. But standing up straight, you got a connection earth, down here, earth and heaven. So that God's, what he wants to send down to us, what we can pull down to us, can come down. Our job is to bring heaven down to earth. This is our realm. Earth is our realm. God gave this to us. He says, what's in heaven belongs to me, what's on earth belongs to you. Although it really belongs to him too. But we're in control. We have the choice to do good with it or not do good with it. And everything we look at that God does, we know is good. I don't care what it is. What happens? It's good because he doesn't do anything bad. It's for good. So if you want to bring heaven down to earth, if you want to make earth what it's supposed to be, our meeting place with God for all mankind who were created in his image, then you have to work on yourself. Just imagine you're one of these planks in the wall. And you have to keep the pipeline clean so that the heaven can flow down through you to earth. Well, if you're angry and frustrated and upset, it can't flow. It's clogged up. Call Roto-Rooter. They still around, Roto-Rooter. Call the guy they call it a snake that cleans out the pipes. Well, guess who you are? You're that tool that cleans out the pipes that you're in charge of. And you're in charge of you. You're in charge of you, not somebody else. You're not in charge of anybody else, except your children who you should educate as they come up in your home. You don't have the right to go out and tell somebody your sewer's clogged. Pray more, do this more, do that more. You do have the right to do it to yourself. You have the right to teach somebody how they can make themselves a better person, not by being accusatory, but by saying, here's a few tricks I learned here and there. Maybe it'll help you. But you do not have the right to accuse somebody or to be angry at them or to think you're better than them. You have to make yourself a complete human being. And by doing that, you have to clean the pipes. You can't allow, sometimes, and it even happened when I lived here in Israel, it happened in the States to me too, the sewer line that goes out to the street, to the main sewer, all of a sudden it's plugged up. Now, wait a minute, we didn't flush anything weird down the toilet. We didn't do anything wrong, but it's clogged up. So I'd call an expert, and they send little cameras down through to see what's wrong. Back in the day, you used to have to dig it up to see what was wrong. And you know what it was? Roots, tree roots that got into the pipes and clogged it. Without your knowledge, because it's underground. But they had to be cleaned out. Guess what's happening to your connection between you and God? You have those hidden things that will stop you from a good connection. It's up to you to seek them out and fix them. You don't want to be clogged up when you're having a connection with God. You want to do it the best way you possibly can. Amen. And the Messiah should come quickly. All right. Anybody have anything they want to add to this or questions or anything? I didn't see anything in YouTube tonight. I don't know if there's something else going on in America that people are watching instead. I have no idea. I don't know about Facebook. I didn't even look at that. Don't see anything at Facebook except a bunch of shares. Okay. Anybody have anything you want to contribute or ask questions about? No? Okay.
I was waiting. I thought Cole was going to say something. Part of what you were talking about tonight, Rabbi, also dealt with unforgiveness. Did I hear that in what you were discussing tonight, when somebody gets unforgiveness and how it will affect them?
Right. Yeah, I didn't get into it a whole lot, but go ahead.
Yeah. Well, two instances that really affected my life. One, I had somebody that I thought this was years ago, that had offended me, and I lost my sleep over it. Every time I went to speak to anybody or do anything ministerial wise, this stuff was trying to come out of my mouth. And I remember when it broke. I started to say when I broke it, but I remember when it broke. I got up and was doing some morning prayers. Now this has been 30 years ago, and I was just praying around the house, and all of a sudden I started praying for God to bless that man, and I felt that lift off me. And about 2 weeks after that, I met that man, and he didn't even know what he'd done. I didn't bring it up, but I could tell by our conversation, he didn't even know. So I was letting it affect me. And so it was just something that I had built up in my head, if I can say it that way. And then another time, and maybe you can elaborate on these, another time I had me and a gentleman, great friend, we had a little bit of falling out, and it was one of those things. I'm not going to apologize. Well, I'm not going to apologize either, And so it affected us for several years. I woke up one night out of a sound sleep, and I had a dream about him. And so that next day I went and found him, and I apologized, even though I felt like I may or may not have done anything. I said, I apologized. 2 days later, he passed away, unexpected. And so, we have to watch what we harbor inside of us, that unforgiveness. So I thought I would throw those in on what you were talking about.
Yeah, actually, that lesson's a really great example. Imagine how you'd have felt if he passed away and you never had mended the fence. That's just something you live with. That's a terrible thing. Hi, Devore, good to see you. That's terrible. The other thing that broke, which I was just talking about, cleaning the pipes. About cleaning the pipes. Oh wow, that's good to know. YouTube isn't letting people post comments. I don't know. I thought the chat was turned on. I'm sorry about that. I will double check it later. But Scotty, what you brought up actually has a lot to do with what we were talking about tonight. That when I was talking about the planks up and down and how something can get in there and clog up the connection with God. So what has to be done is somehow it has to be unblocked. And you said it broke. In other words, the block broke by itself. And that can happen sometimes with pressure that builds up inside of you. But it's really, really important that you figure out, you work on it yourself. And then it doesn't go on to many, many years or days or whatever. It just, you finally get rid of it. And I'm telling you, when I discovered this little trick years ago, I sat down and I made a list of people. When I think their name, I felt a little pinch in my heart, or I felt anger. It just, anybody that I had a negative feeling about, I wrote a list. Then I put the list in order of who I had the strongest feeling about. And then I down to who I had the least strongest feeling or the lesser feeling. And I focused on that one person and thinking about them until when I thought about them, I didn't have a negative thought. And I put a little line through the list. The first one was the hardest, because that's when you're experimenting how to do it. And all of you right now can probably, not 100%, but probably think of at least one name. When you think it, you get to, it's a little pinch you get. Alaikum shalom. Somebody just put a chat in here. Work on it. Try it with those people. I don't care who the person is. I don't care what they've done to you. They've stolen from you. They've done this. They've done that. They physically hurt you. Whatever it is, put them on the list. And then arrange it. The one that gives you the highest bad feeling, start with that person. And then work your way down the list. And believe me, I had a list at that time when I did it. I don't know, there must have been 8 or 10 people on the list. Today, there is no one. And I'm here to tell you, my own father was on the list. And it took me years to learn about the things that he told me that really weren't, I took as put downs and negatives, but they were teachings. It's the way I understood the way he was talking to me, which was negative. I felt he was negative. He was putting me down. When you analyze and go through it, this one person, one at a time, you work through the list, and the next time something happens, you remember the work you put in on that list. And you're not so quick to have those negative feelings about somebody, Scotty. I know you know that.
When you owe a bunch of credit card debt, you pay off the highest interest card first.
Good example.
I'll throw that in.
Good example. That's exactly what you do, or you never get caught up. You just keep getting deeper and deeper in debt. One day older and deeper in debt. That's from a song, right? Tennessee Ernie Ford, 16 tons. Yeah, now I see Nina. There you go. If somebody's in Scotty put in there, I put in there, Torah for the Nations. That's me. Shalom. All right. We're going to almost continue the discussion on this discussion on Wednesday night. I got, and I'm looking for it right now, a question or something that would be good to talk about. that Terry gave me that we're going to talk about on Wednesday night at 8. He's reading he just got a new book and he's reading it. And there's a quote from the book that says, man was created for the sole purpose of rejoicing in his shame and deriving pleasure from the splendor of his presence. And Terry wants to explore this from a Noahide version. And he points out the whole book opens with my favorite scripture. The one I quote most on the program, that's Ecclesiastes 12:13. Go look it up if you don't know what it is. I'll make you open the book. What I don't understand the question. Devorah said, what do you do when you get to that person? Most people don't know that you've got something against them, or there's something in you working. Most people don't really know it. You're the one that hangs on to that. You're the one that makes it feel the way it feels. But most people don't even, you might think somebody angered you or said something bad to you 5 or 6 or 7 years ago. That person's forgotten it already. It doesn't affect their life one whit. But it's affecting yours every time you think their name, or every day sometimes. So you don't have to say anything to the person. We addressed this during Rosh Hashanah, where you're supposed to forgive everybody for everything they did. And you don't go to the person and say, I forgive you for calling me a name. They might not even remember it. I mean, what a silly way to do it. Sister. That's a good example because it happens between brothers and sisters, and sister and sister, and brother. It's probably the strongest time that it happens. I've seen brothers beat each other to pulps. I've seen sisters who didn't talk for years. It does kind of, it always comes down to sibling rivalry. Mommy loved you better than me, or daddy loved you better than me, or you did better in school than I did, and that kind of stuff. One of the two sisters has to start talking normal to each other. That's all. My daughters went through this. And I stayed out of it. When it came to me, I said, you go talk to your sister. You two can work it out. It'll be okay. It's okay. Took a whole lot of years, but it's okay. But yeah, you have the sibling rivalry. But the minute you don't have the rivalry in you, it's over. The other person can still hang on to it if they want. But if you let it go, eventually the other person's going to let it go. My daughters are 50s, I think 54 and 52, and they're just starting to be friends. They were friends when they were little, and they're just starting to be friends again. But you don't worry about what she thinks about you. You're supposed to worry about what you think about her. You can't say, people always think the opposite of what you think they do anyway. So you have no idea what that other person's thinking. But if you cannot think it that way, if you can put it aside, now I don't mean put it aside and be gushy-mushy, I love you, sis, and all that kind of stuff. But in your talking, in your attitude is going to show if you just let it go. And when you let it go and then you interact with the other person, not if it's a sister or whoever it is, and they don't appreciate it right away, they don't catch on right away, you say, well, I was trying to be a good person, and you just slap me right back. So we'll have that rivalry again. Yes, it started with over the head with the brownie scat doll. My daughters had an incident also that had happened. I'm not going to repeat the incident, but it was similar. And that's when it all started. And they were in elementary school, I think, maybe junior high when it started. And it just continued on and on. And I would never get involved in it. People have to work it out between each other. You're about 6. Okay. You have to, that incident that happened when you were 6 has been hanging over you for all these years. Take your age, subtract 6, and that's how many years it's been hanging over you. Time to let it go. Time to just let it go. Forgive and let it go. And if she wants to get on your case, listen to her and don't say anything back. Don't say anything back. Just let her have her say. One of my daughters is that way. She's got to have her say. She's got to be the teacher, she thinks. She even does it to me now. She figures I'm an old guy now and I need her teaching or whatever. But I think she's kind of, last 2 times we talked, she wasn't into that anymore so much. So maybe it's past. So it takes work. It's just work to get it done. Okay, let's see where we are here. Nobody put anything else in the YouTube chat room. Who has something they want to kick in some more? Anybody? Cole, let's hear about Saturday.
All righty, yeah. On Saturday mornings, 11 o'clock Eastern, 11 o'clock a.m., every Saturday, we have a Noahide prayer and Parsha service where we pray out of the Brit Olam prayer book. And we just do the prayers straight out of the book. Then we read the Torah portion for the week from Chabad.org. And then we get a Devar Torah from Rabbi Chaim Goldberg. And we have a really good time doing it. And we always have a lot of people there every week. And we'd love to see more people come. Everybody's invited. It's on Zoom. There's links that you can find on all the social media sites, such as Seattle Noahide's Torah for the Nations, Noahide World Center, Noahide World Center Arizona chapter. You can find the links on all of those sites as we share them. Also on my personal Facebook page and Tony Lamone's personal Facebook page as well. You can find the links, as Tony Lamone is my co-host. And we have Devor, make sure that you go over and find one of the links and you can share it all over Facebook. That'd be great. We'd love to see that. But again, it's 11 a.m. Eastern, Saturday mornings, every Saturday. That's 8 a.m. Pacific. And that's just about the time Shabbos is getting over in Israel, about the time that we finish. And and Quartzite, yeah. So, we'd love to see more people come and participate in the prayer and the Parsha reading. We ask people to volunteer to help with the reading of the Parsha. So it's interactive. And we have a really good time. Rabbi Pesach, yeah.
Yeah, that's good. It's also understand the building of the Noahide community worldwide. People come in from all over the world, and you could end up hooking up with somebody in your area, and maybe you'll see a next door neighbor on there. Who knows? But this is, people say, Where are the Noahide schools for kids? Where's this? Where's that? Well, guess what? You guys got to do it. There were no schools for the Jews until the Jews started building the schools for themselves. So you want to become, the community needs to grow, and it needs your help to grow. It's that plain and simple. Okay, thanks for that. And don't forget to be with us Wednesday at 8 p.m. New York time. And Scotty, anything to say about any new posts up?
We've got some that's going to be going up this week. We recorded 2 Sacred Odyssey video casts, and then another video that we're going to have to actually start another YouTube channel for, because it's going to be something just Noahide to Noahide, just talking plain about certain things. So
wonderful. That's good. So you see how the community's growing. I mean, even with the prayer services, even with Scotty and Terry doing their different YouTube channels. When you come in here, I don't care where you study or who you study with. It doesn't make any difference. You come in here and have a community meeting. And that's why we need more and more people to come in. So, you know what? I tried using MeWe, and I don't know. People asked to be approved as friends. I approved them. They disappeared. I don't see them anymore. I only got one person I see is Scotty. I don't see anybody else. The thing just goes crazy. So I walked away from it a little bit, and I'll check it again next week. I never did find you. I think you tried to friend me. I know Amuela did. And I accepted hers, and somebody else did. I accepted theirs. Her name was there one time, and then it just disappeared. So I don't know what's going on. I have no idea. But we appreciate, Devorah, all the sharing you do of everything. And you're helping people come together and create a community, which is so, so important. Okay, anybody have anything else they want to say, comment, whatever? Okay. Nina, thank you. Dan, Scotty. Oh, I'm reading. You're here, Scotty. Yeah, and I want to thank Scotty, the Tennessean, for being the co-host. Cole and Richard, it's good to see you. And Devorah, you too. Thank you. Dan, we're signing off now, so catch up with us on Wednesday or send me a message on that question you got. Okay. We're out of here. We thank you so much for being with us. Don't forget Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Come be with us. And I got to go like this. Okay.